Hi, my name's David Warbridge, Senior Chartered Surveyor at Harris & Clarke, and today we're going to talk about things you may want to think about or do if you're selling your home and the purchaser has arranged a survey. If you're selling your property and found a potential buyer, it's very likely that they will want to send a surveyor to undertake an inspection so they can be confident and assured in making that all-important transaction. Is there anything that you can do to make the process as smooth as possible and limit the potential barrage of questions and requests from the buyer or their legal advisor? The answer is yes. Here are the top 4 things we think you can do to help make the survey process as smooth and as accurate as possible. In turn, this will help provide more confidence to the purchaser about your property being the one they want to buy. Number 1. Access. Providing information on access to the property is greatly appreciated, and knowing things like the best place to park is great. Not least the fact that some equipment can start to feel rather heavy when they're having to be carried from 2 streets over. Knowing where to park and about any restrictions will help focus the time spent on surveying and not cause the process to take longer than required, allowing you to get on with the rest of your day once the survey is done. Access within the property is also important. Can all rooms be accessed? Is there a loft ladder? Lights in the roof space? Can they get around the sides of the property? If you can provide easy access around and throughout the property, this will help the surveyor complete their job and help limit bringing any of the outside into your home, especially if it's typical British weather outside. Finally, have any rear access been opened for the inspection or are keys freely available for the surveyor? This can be a great help. Most observations are made from ground level, and sometimes we need to hunt for that perfect position on the rear alleyway to find the good look at the last bit of roof so we can fully report on the condition and remove any potential doubts. Number 2. Information on previous works or improvements or extensions to the property. In the UK, the chances are that if you walk into a random home it would have been there for some time. Our homes are generally pretty old, with approximately 83%, that's about 23.6 million homes being built before 1990, and some 34 years ago at the time of making this video, and 20% of homes been over 100 years old. The chances are that at some point the property has had repairs done or parts been replaced since it was first built. It's also increasingly likely that improvements have been made to the property, ever more so with government efforts to support and to make our homes much more energy efficient, or the property has been extended up, out, or sometimes downwards to provide more accommodation and facilities. As building surveyors, we can reasonably estimate when these works are completed by looking at how the works were done and with what materials. But having any information available on what was done and when will allow a surveyor to explicitly state the history of the property, which will hopefully result in a more informed purchaser that will ultimately be more confident in making the commitment to buying your property. Number 3. Knowing where your services are. The majority of the time, finding the services in the property such as the gas and electric meters and water stopcock is nice and simple, but in some properties this can turn into a game of hide and seek. Confirming where these are before the survey and being able to tell the surveyor face to face or leaving them a note can save a lot of time and reduce the risk of potential further inspections are recommended in the final report. Having found stopcocks that now live below floorboards after an extension was done in the 1960s to provide a new kitchen, or hiding gas meters behind mirrors in a newly formed downstairs toilet that I may be personally guilty of creating in a house that I previously owned, finding drain covers with grass or gravel coverings is normally the next hardest thing. During any type of survey, all of these parts of the property will need to be seen and commented upon. Allowing the surveyor to report that he has found and inspected these items will stop them having to state that they can't report on the condition, potentially leaving a big question mark over the head of the purchaser that might add to any potential doubts over whether they're making the right decision. Number 4. Certificates and records. The most common issue we have found with surveys is that even in homes that look loved and well maintained, if we don't see any evidence that boilers have been serviced within the past 12 months or the electrics have been tested within the last 5 years, we have to say that it's recommended the purchaser's legal advisor ask for copies of these certificates and if they're not available, that the vendor, in this context you, is asked to have these items checked and new certificates provided to prove that they are in good and safe condition. When you're selling a property, we advise that you first ensure that the services, commonly gas boilers and electrical systems, have been inspected within their recommended timescales, and you leave copies of these certificates out for the surveyor on the day of the survey, even if you've already provided these to the solicitors. This allows them to report accurately on the survey, avoiding any potential unnecessary doubt in the mind of the purchaser. This is also true with any warranties, guarantees or statutory approvals on works or improvements to the property that you have made completed. Again, allowing the surveyor to confidently report on the property, whether you may feel it's a positive or a negative, will result in a more assured and informed purchaser, allowing them to proceed with less doubts or questions about the property and reduce the chance of them pulling out of the sale and having to start the whole process again. If you have any questions or would like to know how Harris & Clarke could assist you, please feel free to contact our friendly team on 02381 550051. We'd be delighted to assist you however we can.